Welcome back, YouTube. This is Shrine King, and again, we're King's Court. And today, I'm actually going to do something a little different. For World of Tanks, there's a lot of different tanks that are actually in the game, and instead of kind of just doing, the is it worth it and all that, I'm gonna kind of like pile it all together as like a guide. And is it worth it? What's your best use or uh, methods of play for the tank? And this one in particular is the Progetto 46, which is the premium that they released a little while ago. And now this tank, it's high mobility, so it's pretty fast. Its accuracy is okay, as you can see here. I can get the majority of the tank into the circle, so that's not bad at all. But when you play this tank, you actually kind of want to stay farther away from your targets. So if you look at the minimap, you'll see that I'm actually keeping right on the edge of the green circle. You actually probably also want to maybe be a little bit farther back than that. I would actually stick to like the edge of the white. So that way, hopefully anyone with maximum view range is not going to see you. Then again, like if you do have camo built up on the tank, you probably can push a little closer. But you'll see, like, when it comes to the tier 10s, you do want to try to get like into the flank of them. Hopefully that way you can get some penetrations into them. Otherwise, like your shells, while they do have good penetration, they're not necessarily up to snuff when it comes to tier 10. So, but the strength of this tank is actually playing with your team and having high mobility, knowing when you should dump your clip, when you shouldn't dump your clip. So every time you fire multiple rounds with this tank, it'll actually extend the time that it takes to load the next round. Whereas if you only fired one, it takes like 6 seconds, which is actually pretty good on a reload speed. So here you'll see I'm not really getting any kind of shots that show anything that's going to be a penetration or a penetrating shot. So now I'm going to try to maneuver around to see if I can't get into a better position, and that's where the Progetto really shines. Honestly, there's been numerous matches where my team is falling apart on a flank. I can actually maneuver in the Progetto all the way to another side to then fight that flank and help the team hopefully stop whatever push. And that actually comes with a lot of damage potential. So if you're really curious on, is this tank worth it? Honestly, my answer is yes. It has high damage potential. It is the only medium premium for the Italian line. So that allows you to get the extra. So like here's a case where I was like, all right, well I'll go ahead and dump 2 shots because the target's a maneuverable target. Chances are I won't get a lot of shots into it. And now I've loaded into my second round, and then you'll see like I'm trying to get another one, but I'm seeing if I can get a shot on him. But I have to be careful. So here's the shot. Now I probably want to dump it to kill him, so I can. So this is something where in the Progetto you have these options, and it's nice. So then I'm like, okay, well now I still have a round in, so I'm not defenseless. And now I've got a second round, so I'm actually able to do some more damage, and I'm going to maneuver around. So my flank is pretty much ruined. I know that they have eyes back there, and I probably won't be able to scout them out. So like, you'll notice I don't have binocs on. Everything for this tank I took was more for damage potential. So I'm not trying to scout with it, and it's probably better that I don't. See, sadly I did take the hit there. That was rough. Now, one thing to know, like, so the ammo rack, you definitely want to repair that most of the time, because like the timing becomes horrible once you've been ammo racked. So now that I've taken that damage, like you can see, like I'm still waiting for the next round, and it's taking, what is this? Yeah, like 12 seconds to reload. But I don't have my repair kit up because I had to repair for my tracks. So all things considered, I mean here, this has been kind of a slow-paced game for me. I haven't really pulled in a lot of damage. So now you'll see that I'm up to 800. And then with a premium, even like 800 still brings you in good money. The repairs of the tank actually are not that expensive either. So pretty typically, I would say I at least rack in anywhere from 50 to 60,000 silver on this tank, and that's really good. So if you are looking for a good, solid performing, money-making tank, I do highly recommend the Progetto. And since it is the only one for the Italian line right now. That makes it nice on the fact that you can actually now see, like you'll notice here, I didn't really get a green until the end there. But what I was trying to do is track him, because if I could track the stirve, that makes it to where he can't maneuver to make it to where other teammates can't or can't hit him. So that way, hopefully, they can get some good shots into him. Now, and then if you don't know, for premiums in particular, you can swap any crew of a similar tank type of the same nation. So for example, if I had my tier 5 like actual Italian medium line unlocked and I was working on it, I could take the crew out of that tank, move it into the Progetto, and they actually will perform as if they were in that tank. So that way I can actually spend the time to level up their experience and get them more skills, so that way they're actually better even at the tier that they're at. So like that's a good way to get it to where like even at tier 5s or tier 4s you actually have a really strong crew. And that can make major differences, especially at the lower tier. But you'll see here, like, all I've done is I've kind of stuck to this side, trying to hold off the flank, crossfire where I can, support the team. And you'll see this is working really well. Like, I'm up to 1700 damage. The particular tank I'm firing at is heavily armored. If I didn't pump out all my shots, I knew that they were going to lose sight on it. So that's where you have an option. I can, take as many shots as possible, get it all out there. And now I gotta try to reload. So you'll see I'm trying to reload. I got one shell in the clip, but you'll see like it takes like 8 seconds for the next one, and then finally it gets down to like where it's about 6 seconds for that last one. And that's where your timing comes off. So here's where I knew this guy was here. Well, actually no, that's the artillery. So earlier I did get shot by a tank destroyer that was down that path. So I was trying to make sure that I don't get myself out in the open exposed like the Scorpion was. And that's actually why he died. And it turns out that he's still there. So that's him right there. So now I actually got a shot into him. I'm like, alright, cool. Tracked him. And that's another thing that's kind of a tip or trick for this tank, is if you get the option of tracking, it's pretty well worth it because of the fact that you actually have multiple rounds to fire. If you track the target, they can't really run away. Even if they end up using their kit, that at least makes it to where they have 90 seconds to wait to get their kit back, so that they don't have that option anymore, which is very beneficial. Now, I'm kind of telling you all the pros and the good things about this tank and how to play this tank to do very well. And that's where I'm telling you, use your mobility. You want to stay away from the enemies. Don't try to be in sight, because when you are in sight, right, they're going to aim for you. And the reason being is the Progetto just doesn't have a lot of armor. That's actually why it's so fast, and it's able to load really quick and stuff like that, right? So everything it's got is focused more on that, so it wasn't able to armor up. So here you'll see I actually took the top, and then I show here for the money earned, right, that was like 59,000 right there. So everything all considered, right, the money that I had to spend to repair and for the ammo, I still pulled in 59,000 just from that fight. And I'm giving like 2 examples, and that's the thing too. So these guides for these tanks, I'm going to try to do at least 2 videos to show in reference for the discussion, as I was trying to help explain how this all works for the tank and how to best play it. And then that's also another thing too, is like, so bear in mind the pros and things that I'm talking about for how to play it. If that's not your style, that's not your style, and that's okay. So if it's not your style, then I mean obviously I wouldn't recommend it. What I am doing is I'm doing kind of a generalized recommendation based on the tank, and I also include like the factor of how many options are there and what are the comparable options for the tier plus the nation. So like with this being the only one really available, it's kind of hard to say no, don't do this for this tank. There's opportunities obviously that maybe down in the future they'll bring out other tanks. But here you'll see, like, just for this tank, like I said, I was mentioning mobility, and I didn't really show a lot of mobility in the last one, but you'll see this is getting up to like 60 kilometers an hour, which is pretty fast for a medium, which means you can actually get into position pretty early on, especially for scouts. So like a lot of typical scouts, right? They're going to run out there, they're going to try to get there and spot some targets, because you always have the one particular scout that's actually going to just rush out to do things. And you'll see right there, the round is not necessarily super fast in its trajectory, so you have to always bear that in mind when trying to snipe. It does take a little while to get to the target. So here's a particular light. I did not want to lose the opportunity to put some damage onto that light, because the longer that light's alive, the worse it goes for my team. And that's pretty typical for any light, right? So if you see lights because they're out there trying to spot and get your team seen to the rest of the team so that they can actually snipe in, usually if you have the opportunity to damage them or kill them, you take it. If you see them start to move and you're not fully aimed in, you take that shot. And the reason being is because even a 60% chance to shoot them and hit them is better than not shooting them at all and let them spot somebody and have that person get knocked like 2 or 3 times for like a total of 1,000 hit points or whatnot. And you see, like you'll see here, like I'm just no problems, moving along. I'm still keeping up with the team. There's one guy who went like super ham, like some medium out there. I think he's a Comet. He just rushed out there. And I mean, the problem there, just in case if someone doesn't really know, when you rush that far ahead and there's no one there with you, not even like remotely close, maybe only a scout, there's no one to actually shoot the targets that you're spotting, which means all of your spotting, everything that you're trying to do, is pretty much useless. So here you'll see I just put out, I put out 3 shots, right? Because I was like, all right, I got to dump into the target because I'm going to end up moving anyway, which gives me time to reload anyway. First shot I took was a iffy shot because it was at his turret, and it's a well-armored, turreted tank. Exactly, I don't know if I actually have Sixth Sense on this tank yet. So there, I knew that they had something there. I'd rather take the shots and hope to hit them. Because the other part there is, and bear in mind, sometimes it's worth blind firing, because the fact that when you blind fire, if you did hit the target, chances are it's going to make him move, and if he moves, there's a good chance he might actually get seen. So that's pretty helpful if you can do that. And the Progetto is kind of nice because, you know what, you could actually do 1 and then wait and let it reload. I was a little greedy there, put 2 because I was pretty sure he was still there, and it looks like, yeah, he was, and I looked like I actually hit him once. But you'll see here, I actually have a really hard time. So that's one thing to note, is because of the speed of the shell velocity, there are times like you'll be aiming at a target and you'll fire and it just doesn't get there, and mostly because like they're moving, like they're rolling back or something like that. So a lot of times what I would recommend is, if you are aiming at a target and you know that they're probably going to roll back, like actually aim a little bit farther back, so that way your trajectory hopefully hits them on the way that they're rolling. But this tank definitely is more like a team style tank. You want to actually play to your team. I mean, there are people, I'm sure, that they can go all ham on their own and just rack it all out, no big deal. But I don't necessarily recommend that. This tank does really well with trying to play around your team. Let them spot. You go through and like assist by just racking out damage as much as possible. So you'll actually see here, I'm actually the one spotting that. And that's not really necessarily something the Progetto is really good about. Like, yeah, it's got decent camo. It's not amazing camo, it's just decent. So that's something to bear in mind. So like, if I'm going against heavies, sure. Here I'm getting really unlucky with a lot of my shots, but like I said, put it where their tracks are. It's worth at least tracking them, making them use that repair kit. So at this point, I'm like, well, and I'm gonna guess I don't have my Sixth Sense, so that's why you'll see I'm actually like, okay, let me just roam around a bit, because I know that they have artillery. I'm hearing the artillery fire. I'm pretty sure they had to have seen me after all what I tried there. And this Challenger, though, man, look at this. I'm like, okay, I really suck at hitting this Challenger. It's really frustrating. The only time I think I hit him is when I blind fired. If I aim at the guy, it's no good. But so, for example, like and then this is the other thing too, is like you have to be kind of aware when playing this, and that's pretty typical of any tank. So I mean, it's not something to say that that's not true of a lot of tanks. Um, but I'm watching the mini map and I see that my team's kind of evened out. They're holding down on the south, so I don't necessarily need to maneuver. So I'm just sticking with the flank that I'm on, trying to help the team. And now that I know, like, hey, I see that they got quite a bit of guys, down in the south. I'm like, we can actually move up. It looks like some of the guys were a little scared to move up, and I know I'm at 100%. So I'm like, all right, fine. Now I'm going to kind of swap my role. I'm going to be the guy who charges in, try to find the guy who's over here trying to keep us spotted, and then try to, in turn, I'm hoping to turn the events of the fight. All right, so there, my team was able to support there. Okay, I took an artillery shot straight down the path, so I know that the artillery's there. I saw the light, didn't get the shot in. I see that this guy got hit right next to me. Now, I could go charging, but I didn't want to because I was crew stunned, which means I'm going to be a lot slower. But that's not to say that we shouldn't probably charge here soon. Otherwise, we're going to lose the momentum of this push. So I came down. I got a couple guys. I'm waiting for them to get closer. So here they are. They're showing up. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I know that light's there, and I know the SPG's there. I know chances are there's another SPG. But this guy, our actual heavy, looks like he's going to just hide. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'm going to call it out. I need help. I got this other guy who's pushing up. It turns out they started aiming at him. There's the other artillery. Another artillery fired at him. I'm like, all right, got to push. That light is in here somewhere. So that's another thing to bear in mind, right? So like with the camo ratings and stuff like that, it's hard to see lights anymore if they're hiding in bushes like this. So you really got to push on them if that's what you want. So here I'm out, like my ammo's out. I'm waiting for the reload, but I don't stop because again, my maneuverability, it's much like a light. It's worth keeping the move. So luckily my team shot the other artillery that was actually ready to shoot me, and I'm letting the reload. So that way I had a little faster time on it. I got one shell in because I know that, hey, there's this tank destroyer, and he's coming for me, right? So I'm like, all right, take the shot. I still got another round. Might as well take the other one. A teammate hit him, so that there it is, right? That gave for cleanup. So now there's only one target left. So this is a case where, yeah, you can play it really solid. You can play it aggressive in certain cases, but again, like I said, the way I really would recommend playing this tank is you start out more kind of in the back. It's not that you're not playing aggressive with your shots. It's just that you're going to play in the back with your team. Snipe for your team. Now, if your team isn't really spotting and stuff like that, it becomes a little tricky, as you saw. Like my team wasn't really ready to move up or whatnot, so I had to push it. So, is it worth it? Absolutely. Will it make you a lot of money? Most likely. The benefits of this tank is one that it's high damage capable. It has the auto loader, semi-auto loader type thing where it's very tactical. And if you are very good at reading the map and stuff like that, absolutely worth it. So I definitely highly recommend this tank, and I hope just talking about its pros and cons helps you out. Please let me know what you think.